Hey now, D2 sports fans. Hopefully you enjoyed your first ever D2 day, but it's time to get back to business with an all-new episode of the D2 Nation Podcast. I'm your co-host, Wayne Cavadi, and joining me, as always, is the great Bethany Bowman. Hey there, Bethany.
Hey, good to be back. Another episode. Thanks for having me again, Wayne.
Yeah, we're creeping along. We're getting closer to March. Conference championships are underway in both D2 men's and women's basketball, and it's going to be an insane March, right? Right now, both the two-time defending champion Northwest Missouri State on the men's side and Lubbock Christian on the women's side are outside the top 10. There's just no way to even gauge what's going on, and for the first time, we're calling the Bearcats and the Shaps underdogs.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I will throw in that my alma mater got a sweep of the Bearcats this year, and I love the Bearcat coaching staff. They're awesome, but they've obviously set the standard. So it's pretty cool then to get a couple wins over them. But it's already looking like the Madness of March is here, and where things look kind of normal is on the D2 baseball field. That's where defending champion Wingate has come out of the gates with an 11-1 start and is looking very much like the team that shocked the world in Cary, North Carolina last year. So joining us today are head coach Jeff Gregory and the red hot hitting Michael Dansky. Welcome to the nation, gentlemen.
Hey, how are y'all?
Good. Thanks for jumping on. So we like to ease things in with the show, and lead off where things kind of started off. So, we'll start with you, Michael. This question is going to be for both of you, but we'll start with you, Michael. What brought you to Wingate and D2 baseball in general?
When I came on my visit here, it really felt like a home, and I just enjoyed like the coaching staff. They were nice, and the campus was really nice, and everything about it just felt like the right place. So I just chose to come here, and I don't regret it.
Were there multiple visits that you had, and was there a decision that had to be made, or was it kind of you walked on campus and you knew you were home?
I talked to one of our assistant coaches for a while, and then finally came on a visit. And after that first visit, a few days later, I committed. So it wasn't too much like thinking around. I kind of knew once I came on campus that it's the place I want to go.
Yeah, well, it's working out for you so far. And then now, Coach, on the other hand, you've been here for quite some time. So why don't you tell us how you wound up being the head coach for the Bulldogs?
Well, my track was kind of like Michael's. I had a few visits, a little bit of interest coming out of high school, and I tell people all the time that I made my decision as far as like coming to school here to play to Wingate June after I graduated my senior year. And so I was one of those late ones that made a decision, and didn't really have a path, didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I had a friend of mine I grew up with that was in pro ball at the time, and by the time I was a junior, kind of realized that I was not as good as he was, and I needed to figure out a different path. And I wanted to get into player personnel, player development, the professional level, because that was an interest. And in order to do that, I wanted to get a master's and have a business background to go with my sport management undergrad. So to pay for it, I applied for the GA job here. My collegiate coach hired me on and started coaching. It was everything I wanted to do. It just happened to be at the college level. And I tell people all the time, I haven't worked a day in my life since then. And it's just kind of been an interesting track. I worked for my head coach for years, and then when he got out of the game, I got a chance to work for a gentleman by the name of Alan Osborne. Worked for him for 3 years, and when he left to go back to the University of Georgia to be an assistant coach there, I felt like it was time for me to take a shot at this. And so working under two different head coaches at the same place, it's a little bit unique. That doesn't happen very often. I had the opportunity to be able to take over the program in the summer of 2010, and I've been here since then.
Baseball is obviously a long season, the longest of any college sport, but what the Bulldogs did in the SAC tournament and then in Cary was quite the run. You won 5 straight elimination games against top 15 teams. Michael, we'll start with you, and then Coach, when did you realize something special was happening last season?
Kind of felt it like the whole year that we had a good group of guys, and we could do something pretty special. But I would say after that first game in conference tournament, we kind of felt like we could beat some teams, and once we ran the table there, we just kept having some momentum, kept building off it, and took it all the way. So it was a good run.
Yeah.
It was.
And then, Coach, when for you did you start to be like, maybe I've got something here?
There was a couple different things that kind of stuck out to me. You know, it kind of started in the fall. We had our group back, and they had all been, you know, key guys for our program and all done a lot of really good things. But you know, anything I threw them in practice, if they struggled with it one day, the next time they saw it, they did very well with it. And so you kind of knew that they just were could handle what they needed to handle. We felt like we were talented. We felt like we were a good group, and they were very, very close. And then when it came into the season, you know, we just started playing. We kind of caught stride a little bit, probably a couple weeks into it, once we figured out with all the new aspects of COVID and the fact that we went from a 3 games, you know, conference weekend to 4-game conference series over the weekend. We were playing double headers. And once we kind of, you know, figured out how to navigate that, guys just started playing better and better throughout the year. And then I think there was a couple things that happened, you know, where, you know, we had a tough loss there at the end of the regular season, and guys responded the right way and came out the next day and won 2 games that we needed to. And then we got into conference tournament like Mike was talking about, and we played very well right at the very first game. We dropped the next game, and then, you know, you get into a back and forth game with Cavadi, you know, and they brought Ketchy in, and he's been as solid of an arm that I've seen at the collegiate level. And he had beaten us earlier in the year, and then we had 3 straight hits, you know, to walk off on him and to win that game in a conference tournament. And we just kind of kept momentum going. And then, you know, even having after the break for 3 weeks, then going into the regional tournament, you know, my concern was like, what was the first 3 innings going to look like? Because we haven't played. And, you know, we had a good first inning because we were the home team. And then, you know, I think the second pitch that they threw, McCann Mellett hit it about 450 feet for a home run. And it just kind of like the momentum just kept going. And so we felt like we had a team that, you know, obviously compete in our region that could get to a World Series. And then once you get to the World Series, you know, it's just who's able to continue to play well in that environment.
So here's Little Wingate, not one of the larger D2 schools, and the SAC, which has very good teams, had not won a D2 title before. And now here we are in 2022, and I'm sure there's no pressure at all whatsoever to repeat. Michael, how different was it entering this season than last one? And were the expectations suddenly repeat or bust?
We've been going about it the same way throughout the fall, like just trying to get better every day. And come season, we just want to play our best game every day. And I think we've done a good job so far of that. And I think our expectations, we want to get back and win another national championship, but we just want to take it one game at a time and just continue getting better every day.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say this, I know preseason rankings are more for fun, you know, and I'm sure you looked at them though, right? And I will point out that the 2 national polls had you both had at number 2, but someone, I won't name names, had you at number 1 coming into the season. I'm just going to put that out there. But, you know, did you see that? And you're like, you know, kind of like, we're not even number 1 coming into this. I mean, Tampa's very good. I'm not trying to say anything against Tampa, but, you know, do you see a ranking like that when you're the reigning champs and kind of like, all right, let's show them? Because it sure looks like that's kind of how you came out of the gates so far.
I mean, that's kind of been our motto since last year, like just nobody really cares about the Bulldogs, and we just kind of take after that, and we play with that chip on our shoulder. And I think it helps us when, you know, stuff isn't in our favor. We like that.
I'll definitely eat some humble pie too, because when I do my rankings and my articles, I get a lot of parents or fans, and they'll reach out to me, and they all season they kept saying, watch Wingate, they're doing something special. And I'm like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it. And I'll admit it, you know, like come tourney time, the smaller schools, they usually struggle. And by the time I watched you guys in the SAC tournament, I was kind of like, all right, I'm wrong. These guys are good. And it was very impressive. It was fun to watch, especially once you got to carry. That was just remarkable. But, you know, speaking about that team, Coach, for you get to put the lineup together, you get to put the rotation together, and you've had the luxury this year of having a lot of those guys back. But you did lose some big names, and you said McCann Mellett, who just crushed the ball all the time, and Hunter Dula, who was just one of those leaders. How do you replace that kind of leadership, and which players now do you see kind of stepping into that role?
You know, it's hard to replace that kind of leadership. And I think that was a big step for us when McCann Mellett said, you know, after the COVID year, and they were able to get it back, and he was a super senior, he said, yeah, I want to come back. And I think it was big, but I think that's also something that he's left on the program. And I think, as we continue to work and continue to move forward as a program, that, we're constantly trying to develop leadership guys in our program to continue to carry that forward. And I think he was a big part of that. And so like guys like Michael Dansky that you're having a conversation with now is taking over one of those roles. And I think it's not necessarily just one person, but it's, there's another group of them that we've been trying to really develop, their voice in the program this year. I don't expect you to be like McCann or Hunter. You guys have got to be your version of yourselves, but you can carry that voice and you got to get comfortable with it. And so there's been several guys that have stepped up and done that. Justin Guy's been that voice. Michael Dansky's been that voice. Ricky Clark's been that voice. And then, Carson Simpson's been that way, Brody McCullough. So there's several different guys that have done it. And as far as on the field, what some of those guys have, it's kind of been by committee, to be honest with you, that, Mitch Ferris has stepped up. Mike's gotten off to a really good start. Logan McNeely has been very good from behind the plate. Brett Adams has played first base, Gary Christopher and Andrew McCain. It's been a little bit of a revolving door, but that's part of what we feel like is one of our strengths, is that we've got some depth, we've got some talent this year, and we want to get them on the field and want them to play and continue to, progress them and develop them and give them opportunities to be able to step up and be able to take over some of those roles.
Michael, to you, you have come out of the gates red hot, hitting nearly 500 with 3 home runs. So take me through a breakdown of your approach at the plate and discuss what type of hitter you are.
Just try to get my pitch, not trying to chase. Usually just trying to hit the fastball, and then sometimes I'll swing at other pitches. I might hit it, but mostly just trying to get a fastball that I could put a good swing on, and just whatever happens from there happens.
Well, talk a little bit. So I think if I read correctly, it was 6 home runs you hit last year. You're already out to 3 this year. Do you feel like that's just experience and growing? Did you kind of bulk up in the offseason? Are you looking for more of that over the fence power, or are you still kind of like a gap to gap kind of guy?
I just try to stay gap to gap, and sometimes the ball just seems to fly, especially at home. But I think I have gotten stronger from last year, so I think that helps a lot. But I'm really just trying to stay gap to gap in the middle of the field, and sometimes they just go.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Coach, I see you kind of smiling. What are your thoughts on any improvements or differences you've seen from this last season to this one with Michael?
Yeah, last year, he was kind of started out the year as a backup shortstop, but we felt like he was one of our better infielders, and we transitioned him over to third, and he got a full year of playing, and got a lot of experience last year. And then comes out this year, he's worked really, really hard on all aspects of his game. So it's not just time in the weight room; it's the mental aspects of it. And if I always saw him around the occasion zone and just happened to walk by, what are you working on? He could tell me something specific that he was working on. And I think the big thing that, obviously that he's kind of dialed into has just been his pitch selection. It's really about trying to keep everything as simple as possible, but, he's not expanding the zone. And I think when you're able to work yourself into good counts and, or, go on what you want to go on, put good swings on what you're looking for. Obviously, it's going to contact rate's going to go up, and when you make a lot of hard contact, it's got a chance for some of the balls to leave the ballpark. But he's been phenomenal with it. And whether it's hitting something out of the ballpark or banging a double off the fence, that it's just a competitive at bat every single time he's walking up to the plate. And so pitchers have got to really work right now to get him out, and I think that's been part of his success so far.
Yeah, and then speaking of success, obviously, the Bulldogs are out to this great 11-1 start. But Coach, for you, I know early in the season, baseball is such a grind, right? You're unlike any other sport. You're playing 3 or 4 games a week. You got to focus on your team. But are you watching what's happening in the South Atlantic Conference right now? Because everyone's going bananas, right? Lenore Ryan's amazing. Yeah. Anderson's like 11-1. Newberry is taking down all these teams. Catawba, always good. As a coach, is this making you kind of look a little bit more forward to conference play this year and what you're going to have to face? And kind of also maybe throw in there, how is the South Atlantic matchup against other conferences? All of a sudden, the little engine that could is like this power conference with all these teams that are legitimate teams.
Right. Well, I think from the competitive side, it's exciting. that you're playing in a league that's super competitive, and you know that every time that you walk on the field and you're going to play somebody of your league, I mean, it's going to be good ball games, and you're going to have to show up and try to play your best, and you figure that they're going to play their best, and you've got to make sure that you're tuned in and ready to go. But yeah, I mean, I think it's something we as coaches in our league have been talking about for a while. We felt like we've had good baseball here. Catawba seems to have been the team that was the most recognizable for a while. But if you watch over the last couple of years, there's been some really good head coaches that have been hired into our league. And I think you're starting to see that now. And they're building their programs. They're making them super competitive, and teams that have been good for a while continue to still, build and become good. Even like for us going in this weekend playing Carson Newman's off to a really strong start. And he's had a team that he's been putting together the last couple of years, and he's had a lot of success over there past as long as he's been there, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, you sit there and look around the league and you see how it is and the stuff that we feel like has been happening all along, but it hasn't been as recognizable. But now you start to have some of these teams that really get off to some hot starts, and it starts drawing some attention. So, I think it kind of speaks for itself. But yeah, I mean, it makes it for an exciting idea. It makes it exciting for the season, and the challenge of it. I mean, that's the fun part about playing collegiate athletics. And I think we're all looking forward to that part of it. And we're getting, that part of the season, started, this weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I know you are. I mean, I think there's a lot of people. I mean, I've been trying to follow, a little bit more, around the country that, you try to dive into it and follow as best you can, but after us making our run last year, get the chance to meet some more head coaches and be around some more baseball people and follow what some of, these programs are doing. But there's a lot of really good programs are off to good starts. And I think that's a good thing. So it's been kind of fun watching it. It's like we've been talking about for a long time that, it's labeled as D2 baseball, but it's really good baseball. And there's a lot of really talented teams across the country. There's a lot of really talented players across the country, and it's, we've been trying to tell people all along. And I think people are starting to see it now. And obviously what you guys are doing as far as getting out there and getting some recognition for it, I think it's fantastic. I think it continues to open some pathways and open some, some doors for people to get involved in it.
Well, Wayne is the baseball fanatic, but I do enjoy going out to the park a little bit, especially having a team here in my hometown. But, I was a D2 student athlete myself. What, for both of you guys, this question is for, makes D2 so special? Michael, we'll start with you. What are some things you've really noticed about this level that you like?
I mean, first off, it's another opportunity to just keep playing baseball. So that's just great. And then the competition, like, it's really good here, and you go up against teams that are really good. You're seeing arms that are, mid 90s. You're seeing like guys getting drafted and stuff. So it's really good competition. And then I think just being on a team, like being with your boys all the time, it's an awesome experience.
Coach, how about you?
Want me to answer that part of it too?
Well, being a head coach at the D2 level, what's special about that for you?
Well, I think it's, part of it's the development of players. I think we as coaches have got to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more dialed into what we see, and not only see what they are now coming out of high school or junior college, or what we think they can be down the road. And I think part of this thing that's really exciting about it is to see guys develop and see players develop, not only as players, but as people, and to see them grow, to see them mature, to see them continue to get better. Like you guys are talking about Michael going from one year to the next, to see those kind of things, I mean, it's pretty special. Or a guy like Hunter Dula, that comes into your program that's a mid to upper 80s arm, but you feel like, down the road that if he works and really puts the time into it, that something special can happen out of it. And then, to see him become a mid 90s arm. And I think that's the unique thing about it. I think that's one of the special things about Division II. I think you see some people and some players that nobody's really heard about that all of a sudden kind of put themselves on the map. And I think it's just through the development part of it. So the combination of the balance that we were able to create here, the development of players, development of people. And I think it's what makes it unique. And I think it's what makes it special.
Yeah. And Hunter, he was drafted by the Giants, right? Was it Giants?
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of talent.
Yeah. And it's fun even following him and what he's doing now. The fact that, he's going out to mini camp already, and kind of had some conversations with him and talking about some of his things, and so to hear him by the end of the last summer, out in the Giants and go through 8 appearances, and he hasn't given up a run yet. So it's not like it's just like, hey, the guy plays D2. I mean, this guy is good. And so he gets into professional baseball and he continues to thrive and continues to advance and continues to get better. And I think he's making his way into that organization. I think it says a lot about, like what Mike was saying earlier about the players that come out of here, the guys that are drafted. I mean, they're good players, and even following some of those guys that we saw in the World Series last year, to see them get into the Pro Bowl, and they're doing very, very well. And and I think that speaks volumes of like Mike was saying, the talent that's here, the teams that are here, and what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always fun to watch that. And I've been covering it since 2016, so you're preaching to the choir, as they say. I definitely see that talent all the time.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
So, okay, gentlemen, that was actually the easy part of the show. What happens now is the hard part, and we're going to put you on the D2 Nation hot seat. It's just some fun little rapid fire questions to close out the show. Are you both ready?
Let's hope so.
All right, Bethany, get them started.
Okay, we'll start with you, Michael. Who is your favorite baseball player and team?
Derek Jeter. I'm a Yankees fan.
Nice, I like that. I'm from North Jersey. I grew up a Yankees fan myself. Yesterday was Tuesday, Derek Jeter Day for you. There you go. Coach, how about you?
I'm a Braves fan. Always have been. Growing up in Georgia for years, I was a Braves fan. Obviously, was a big Greg Maddux fan. Like watching just what he did, and Chipper Jones and all those guys in the mid-90s team. So I'm a Braves guy.
Yeah, it was a fun year for you on every level then.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Yeah.
I would have known that. I would have worn my Chipper Jones jersey I've got in the closet.
Next question. What is the best baseball movie of all time? Coach, we'll go to you first.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm probably a Major League fan. I love that movie.
Great one. I love it. Michael, how about you?
I'm going to go with The Sandlot on this one.
I don't know if you could see it. I have the Squints and Wendy Peppercorn statues right there from The Sandlot, because I love that movie as well.
What is in your headphones pregame to get you pumped up for a game?
Olivia Rodrigo.
I love some of the answers we get here.
And Coach, if you were, had the choice on what's playing over the speakers, what would you pick?
I'm a little bit of a metalhead, so I'm a Metallica fan. So I usually put on Pandora, put on Metallica radio station, and I just listen to that.
Do most of your student athletes have any idea who Metallica is? Are we at that point where nobody knows Metallica anymore?
I hope not. They know who they are. It's not their choice. But I like what those guys put on. I let them handle the music, and the assistant coaches handle the music for pregame and things like that. So I like some of the stuff they listen to. I always ask them who it is and who sings this and stuff like that, and they laugh at me. But
Right.
I'm okay with it.
All right, Michael, what's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Coach?
I'm a steak guy. If we're gonna go have a meal somewhere, it's like, where can we go find this good steak? And that's my first choice.
Bethany, I think that's the most popular answer.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I think Jacek said that. I think that
both last week. Didn't they match last week?
You said that last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all the steak people out there start from going down. What's your favorite cut of steak? Is it a fillet? Is it a ribeye or whatever? And that's where you got to start really diving into. Like, which kind of person it is? I'm a ribeye guy. I like a ribeye.
And how do you get it cooked?
Medium rare.
Oh.
So.
Why, Bethany? What about you? You're.
I'm more of a medium to medium well.
That's about how my wife was. I tease her all the time because the first date we ever went on, she ordered a filet, and the waiter asked her how she wanted to cook, and she said medium well. And I kind of looked at her and was like, I'm not so sure about it because I've never heard of a person getting the filet cooked that done. But I still tease her about it. I've kind of worked her back to a little bit of a solid medium, so we're okay with that one.
I get a lot of slack for that too. But I think do you guys even have any cows down there? So like, I've got to look at cows all day. So it's like, I want to make sure that I'm getting it cooked good because I like see them. Yeah, I think it's just like a Midwest thing, maybe.
It probably is just a little bit, I guess. There's still some over here, but probably not like in the Midwest.
Yeah. What's your favorite binge-worthy Netflix or television show?
Either Outer Banks or Game of Thrones.
Ooh, two good ones right there.
I watched Outer Banks. I like that one.
Coach,
We're on Yellowstone right now. Yellowstone and then Stranger Things have been the two shows that we watched the most.
I like Stranger Things. We're almost finally at season 4. It took them long enough.
I know they need to come out with that next season.
All right, last question, and this is a Division I College World Series legendary question that they ask at the Omaha Stadium because of all the food. Right, Coach, we'll go to you first. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I've never thought about it. I know where people are going with that. I'm going to say no.
Michael?
I mean,
right? It tears your brain apart.
Technically, it could be.
Technically, it could be. That's not a very clear answer.
I'm gonna go with yes.
Yes.
I mean, they claim the right answer is yes, but I'm with Coach on this one. You don't eat a sandwich sideways, right?
That's the whole point. Even when you get one of those subs somewhere, they cut it on the side, they fold it up, but you end up turning over. Hot dog, you don't do that.
Right. Yeah.
I've got one more question actually here. So I feel bad kind of for the listeners that are, we're on YouTube, we're on all the podcast outlets. I feel bad for the people that aren't watching on YouTube because they don't get to see Michael's awesome mustache. Coach, what do you think about this look?
I like it. I mean, I'm not going to deny. It's a good looking mustache. He takes care of it. He's groomed. He's got a little bit of flow in the back, so that's kind of the look nowadays. So I'm okay with it. All that stuff kind of started because I used to have a facial hair policy. You had to be clean shaven except for a mustache. Well, then all these mustaches started popping up, and then I got rid of it. As long as you're clean cut, we're fine. But the mustaches always make an appearance. They typically will make an appearance leading into March and everything else too. But I think it looks good on him. Some guys that try to grow one, not so much. This is all right.
Okay.
Nice. So you're preparing for your future as a Yankee, where you're only allowed to have a mustache. It's perfect. You're
so he's right on
it. Well, that wraps up the hot seat. We want to thank you both for joining us. That was a fun show. Obviously, we wish you good luck the rest of the way. We got a long way to go. Maybe we'll be talking to you again in May, like last year. But thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us, and we do appreciate everything you guys do, and we do hope we get a chance to see you a little bit later on in the year.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And remember, D2 Nation, before we go, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else you want to listen to a show. Give us a follow, hit us up on Twitter, and we'll see you next week on the D2 Nation.